Hello all my intrepid travelers of the internet. I'm Bucky Borealis, and welcome to this once-in-a-lifetime, but not quite episode, of Bucky's Laboratory. April 8th, 2024 signified a very special occasion here for all of us in the US of A. We were all privileged to witness a very rare astronomical event. I'm sure you all know exactly what I'm talking about. That's right. The new moon! I mean, yes, people, for the first time in a month, the moon has been able to reach a point it's... I'm sorry, I can't. Of course I'm talking about the solar eclipse. I mean, I want to be fair. The solar eclipse, or a solar eclipse for that matter, happens about, I don't know, once every 18 months, but it's not very often that we get one quite like this one. Anybody who's been watching this channel for really any amount of time knows that I am absolutely obsessed with anything that is related to science or science fiction. So upon finding out that a solar eclipse, a near total solar eclipse, would be passing over my neck of the woods, I had to sink my teeth into every single aspect about it. So please, join me as we cover everything about what a solar eclipse is, how it works, how I was able to home-make my own rig to capture the event, and then, finally, the images that I was able to capture on this journey as an amateur astronomer and photographer. Are you ready? Let's check it out. So what exactly is a solar eclipse? Well, according to NASA.gov, a solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, casting a shadow on the earth that either fully or partially blocks the sun's light in some areas. Now, reading the definition can be one thing, but let's try to add some scale. Something that can help us wrap our minds around what's actually happening here. In order to do that, we have to take something that is as massive as the earth and shrink it down into something tangible, something we can actually hold. Something like, I don't know, a basketball? Now, if the Earth were the size of a basketball, then the moon would be about the size of a tennis ball. And luckily, I know exactly where to find one. Hey. I'm just gonna take this. Thanks. Now, on this scale, if our basketball was the Earth and this tennis ball was the moon, how far away do you think they'd be? 5 feet? 10 feet? 15 feet? Almost there. All the way out here. If the moon was the size of a tennis ball and the Earth was the size of a basketball, then the moon would orbit all the way out here at 23 feet and 9 inches. I bet it's a lot further than you thought, huh? So right here is the blue marble on which we live. And right here is the moon. All the way over there. Oh, there you are. So, to demonstrate what's actually happening during a solar eclipse, I have set up my studio light as a sun analog. And here we have our basketball Earth and our tennis ball moon. Can someone hit the lights? Thank you. Now, the moon, its orbit does not follow a perfect circle around the equator. Its orbit is actually tilted about 5 degrees compared to the plane of the Earth's orbit around the sun. Now, because of its tilt, the moon, from the Earth's perspective, usually passes above or below the sun when it passes between us and the sun, sending its shadow off into space. The tilt of the moon's orbit prevents us from having monthly solar and lunar eclipses. Now, a solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, completely blocking out the face of the sun, causing the viewers on earth to be cast into the ever-eerie shadow of the moon. People located in the center of this shadow when it hits the earth will experience a total eclipse. The sky will darken, as if it were dawn or dusk. Weather permitting, people will be able to see the sun's corona, the outer atmosphere of the sun, which is usually obscured by the bright face of the sun itself. A total solar eclipse is about the only time that people will be able to momentarily remove their solar eclipse glasses, which are not the same thing as regular sunglasses, for a brief period of time when the moon is blocking the face of the sun. There are also many different kinds of solar eclipses. Well, about 3. An annular solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, but is at or near its furthest point away from the earth. Because the moon is farther away, it appears smaller than the sun, and from our perspective does not completely cover it. As a result of this, the moon appears as a dark disk sitting on top of a rather really bright disk, creating what looks like a ring around the moon. A partial solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the sun and the earth. However, the sun, the moon, and the earth are not perfectly lined up. So when the moon passes in front of the sun, it creates a sort of crescent shape, sort of like a crescent moon, but in reverse. There is also a thing called a hybrid solar eclipse, which is basically saying that since the Earth's surface is curved, you can start out with an annular solar eclipse and end up with a total one. So just picture the moon not quite being big enough to cover the sun, and you have this valiant ring around it. And then the moon ever so gently will zoom in to fill the entirety. Eclipses have been happening on Earth throughout all of human history, and throughout time, humans have left all sorts of interpretations and reactions to these very striking celestial events. Traditions from around the world imagine an eclipse being everything from the sun being swallowed up by monsters to an intimate meeting between the sun and the moon. In Vietnam, legend has it that a giant frog swallows up the sun, and then eventually its master, the Lord of Han, then convinces the frog to spit it out. In Javanese mythology, the god of darkness, Bhatrakala, swallows up the sun. The Javanese villagers try to attempt to get Bhatrakala to release the sun by offering sacrifices and beating drums. The traditional belief of the Kwakatl people on the western coast of Canada holds that a sky creature swallows up the moon.
Hey, did you wash your hands?
In the U.S. Northwest, the Pomos people's name for the solar eclipse is Sun Got Eaten by a Bear. The actual name, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. They tell a story about a bear who goes out for a stroll along the Milky Way. The bear eventually runs into the sun, and they get into an argument over who will move out of each other's way. Then, eventually, the argument turns into a fight, and that fight is the solar eclipse. According to Choctaw legend, a very mischievous black squirrel gnaws on the sun. That one was weird too, I thought. The oldest recorded eclipse in human history may very well have happened on November 30th, 3340 BCE. A series of spiral-shaped and circular petroglyphs were found at the Loucrew megalithic monument in County Meath, Ireland. Petroglyphs are rock carvings made by pecking into a stone. Immediately in front of a carving that shows overlapping concentric circles, archaeologists found the charred remains of over 50 individuals. Scholars still continue to research and discuss the meaning of these found petroglyphs, so I'm not saying it's a for sure, but maybe. Though that 50 charred bodies kind of makes me wonder. Eclipses have also contributed to major advancements in the history of science. Albert Einstein first proposed his theory of general relativity in 1916. However, it wasn't until 1919 that the results of a solar eclipse research expedition led by Sir Arthur Eddington validated this theory. Einstein hypothesized that gravity is a warping of time and space, distorting the entire fabric of the universe. A large object, like the sun, can distort space-time enough that its gravity can bend light. So during the solar eclipse on May 29, 1919, scientists saw that some stars appeared in the wrong place, giving evidence to Einstein's theory. In August 2017, a solar eclipse passed across the United States from Oregon to South Carolina. The path of totality crossed 14 states. This was the first solar eclipse visible in the United States in almost 38 years, and almost two-thirds of the United States population lived within 1 day's drive of totality. I even got to experience some of this myself during my senior year of high school. They even took a picture of me and I made it into the yearbook. See, there's me, wearing a welding hood. Go figure. Which brings us to now, or more specifically, April 8th, 2024. This was a pretty exciting revelation that I underwent upon finding out this very upending piece of information. I knew the moment that I was going to be in the path of a near total solar eclipse, I had to try to film it. Now, full disclosure, yes, this was a quite spectacular total solar eclipse for many people, but in my area, I was only going to see about 95% totality. But that didn't matter to me. Starting off, I had absolutely no idea how I was going to do it, but I knew I had to try. So it was time to assess my inventory. Several years ago, I purchased this SVBONY SV205 electronic eyepiece camera for astrophotography. Now, what this basically does, or is a little camera that will fit inside the eyepiece of your telescope, and it will allow you to capture whatever is in the view of your telescopic tool. And then it has a little cord that plugs straight into your laptop. Now, this is a great tool, except the sun is quite exceptionally brighter than your average star you see in the night sky. It should go without being said that you should never view the sun or any solar eclipse without the proper eye protection. We don't need any of you burning a nice little hole in your retinas now, do we? So then I remembered my yearbook photo from the last eclipse I was able to view. I had absolutely no idea if this would work, but I quite literally took the lens out of my old welding hood and then hot glued it to some cardboard, one of my favorite things ever, to not only add some structure and rigidity, but also make it removable. That's a DIY solar lens right there. Nighttime, daytime. Nighttime, daytime. Daytime. Never mind. You get the idea. I also do want to mention that when using this electronic eyepiece, when the sun is directly overhead, or when almost any viewing object is overhead, and it's at a very steep angle, well, of course it isn't going to do it now. It has a very bad habit of sliding right out. So, in order to combat that, I quite literally just took some rubber bands and wrapped it around the end. So you're going to see that it has like 7 rubber bands just wrapped around it whenever I'm sitting next to my truck. Just thought that was kind of funny. Use what you can. I even took it outside to do some practice with it because I must admit I was a little rusty using the software. And in my honest opinion, it worked better than I ever thought it would. All that was left now was to wait for the day. Now, to protect me and my viewing companions, I purchased some very affordable solar eclipse glasses on Amazon for like $9. They came in like a pack of 3. If any of you would like any, I'll leave a link in the description below. I personally like these because they came with a nifty little pamphlet explaining the time of which the solar eclipse would make an appearance. Let's go see if these work. I can't see shit. Also apologize for the ruggedness of my look. I literally just woke up. I say that about do it. That's crazy. With all of our bases covered, it was finally time to set out on our expedition to observe. I must admit in advance that the wind was being quite the nuisance, which made it very frustrating to acquire a steady shot. Here, this is turning out better than I was expecting. I had to mess with the camera settings a little bit, but we're doing alright. Excuse the wind quality, but this ain't too bad of a spot. Right there it is. Let's see what happens. Like I said, it's turning out better than I hoped. Let's start another one. I hope I don't use up all my computer space for this. That statement will almost certainly go down in infamy. I have to end up deleting some stuff. But we're getting actually a pretty good shot. It really looks like a Storm Chasers episode. Yeah, that's good. Parked on the side of the road, computer in hand, you know what I mean? Hey, I'm okay with that. It's basically what we're making.
Holy! The power line just went down.
And then it began. Now, let it be said that even though I've seen this before, I just can't help myself from applauding the universe for just being the universe. I did try to get some shots by holding up my glasses to my camera, but they did not come out very well at all. But that wasn't my main source of photography, so no harm, no foul. It's getting darker. Quite a bit darker. I don't know if you can notice that. So close. That is crazy. Can you see how much darker it is? Can you tell the difference now?
See it glowing through the center of the moon? The green? Yes.
You can't really see it like that, but I don't know what the cloud. And then it happened. Exactly what I was afraid of. All of a sudden, at the very point at which I needed it, the very point at which the solar eclipse was at its peak, the time I needed it the most, my computer sent me the heart-sinking, stomach-wrenching message. 0.0 gigabytes of storage remaining. I paused for a split second, then went into action, frantically deleting things that I wasn't sure if I needed or not, but it didn't matter. They all could be replaced. I mean, it's not exactly like I could just come back the next day and try it again. After my mild panic attack, and after throwing out files of which their importance was uncertain, I was able to capture one last, final shot. I ran out of f***ing space. I ran out of space. Ironic, huh? With that, it was over. And after taking one final look, seeing our lunar neighbor make its exit, it was time to return home to review what I had captured. What I saw was quite satisfying, to tell the truth. Why don't you tell me what you think? Wow. I know they're not perfect, and I know they're extremely janky and windblown, but to me those images are just beautiful. Even I was able to capture this rare slash beautiful celestial event, and I was able to do it in my own way. And now, thanks to the amazing place we are with modern technology, as long as the internet exists, they'll be up there forever. And that just boggles my mind. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna place all the sources that I got my information from both at the end of this video and in the description. So that way, anybody watching this video has the opportunity to see exactly where I got my information from, and if I got something wrong, please go ahead and correct me, and I'll do a corrections video. Because if I got something wrong, I want to know about it. And if it is wrong, then I want to be able to correct it. Although I'm fairly confident that I'm not. I feel like admitting when you're wrong and correcting your mistakes only adds to your credibility. On the plus side, I really do think that we'll be going to that spot again. Possibly for a rocket launch in the future? Am I alluding to another future video? Yes. So with that being said, if you or anybody else had managed to capture this wonderful natural occurrence in your own way, please share it with me on social media. I would absolutely love to see or hear about it. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like or a subscribe. Any engagement at all would really help out the channel, and I would be really appreciative. If you would like to help Bucky's Laboratory continue to record fascinating events like these, please consider subscribing to our Patreon. You'll get lots of extras and exclusives that don't ever make it to YouTube, like blooper reels, like this. Consider See, is that not worth $1? This video is brought to you today via the internet. Please take any emails pertaining to pork or ham and place them in the spam folder. And as always, I will see you in the next episode. Bye.